What's up, guys? This is Ray from Apple Valley Astrologer. So today's the 26th of February 2017. This will be the overview of the weekly horoscope forecast, give you an idea of what kind of themes on a sociological mundane level will transpire because of certain aspects going on. I will start with kind of elaborating on the mundane or collective effects of the eclipse that just happened yesterday. So we had a Pisces solar eclipse, and I went thorough in detail about the effects on an individual and collective level for Mercury being in Pisces, which also ingressed into Mercury just ingressed into Pisces yesterday as well, around the time frame of this eclipse. And I also made an eclipse video specifically too. That one was obviously more geared towards individuals per se, but I had mentioned throughout some of my videos, and it might have been part of my transit video last week as well. Yeah, that's where it was. That I mentioned a lot of hostility going on between squares to Mars and Pluto, and then this compromise of the cognitive capacities with Mercury and Pisces. There's going to be more substantial irrational behavior. As a result, there will be more accidents and scenarios like that. Mercury and Pisces does equate to similar energies of a Mercury retrograde. So this is a concerning time, especially when Uranus has been in Aries for this 9-year duration. If there is a Mercury retrograde transit going on during the time frame when Mars, or the Sun in particular, is nearly conjunct with Uranus in Aries, that is the transit signature for deaths, casualties, and transportation accidents and that sort of thing. There being collective or some sort of traumatic, catastrophic events, scenarios that kill lives. So, I have a chart here in particular. I was gonna do the split screen thing, but I don't feel like doing it. So, I'll superimpose this right here so you can see it. So the eclipse, if you look at the dynamic we have going on here. So, in particular, we have Mercury that just went into Pisces in the quadrant of Venus. So it would be others being impacted because some of their immediate physical property or security or safety is threatened by Mercury and Pisces. So there's already transit events that are going on between when I made that video 2 days ago about Mercury and Pisces and now to correlate with this signature here. And then also we have the moon, the moon in the Neptune quadrant, which is kind of self-explanatory. It would translate the same as a moon being in Pisces. They're going to be more intuitive and less realistic instincts. And with the sun in the moon quadrant as well, it's masked. It's masked over the solar eclipse, because I keep forgetting I'm looking at that chart. Okay. Then we have Neptune that is in the quadrant of Pluto, meaning that any kind of fog or lack of perspective or reality is going to directly attribute to deaths, loss. Then, if you notice that we have Chiron in Pisces that's in the Mars quadrant, that's very concerning as well. Also, this is involved with an opposition with Jupiter, which is part of that T-square with Pluto. And at this moment in time, when we're looking at this chart from, Pisces solar sun starting the first house, we have Pluto in the 11th house of trauma. So that T-square is going to be magnified on a sociological level. So again, as I was saying in my, can't remember what video I was saying in one of my transit videos recently, that the Pluto-Uranus Jupiter T-square is going to amplify the Uranus-Pluto square themes on a global or sociological level. So there's been evidence of there being some sociological influences with Uranus-Pluto square, but the traumatic instability of people feeling unsafe, insecure, being defensive is going to now escalate to a collective global level. And Venus and Mars are close to each other, and especially in fire signs, that causes combative relations. So having both of those in the Sun quadrant would mean that there's going to be direct combative relations associated with self. So it's going to be people against people, person against person. And then with Uranus in the Jupiter quadrant, along with Eris kind of riding the line right there with it, that would signify that Uranus's traumatic influences or unpredictable erratic events are going to be exacerbated again, which is re-emphasized when I said that T-square with Pluto, Jupiter, and Uranus. And with Eris specifically being conjunct with Uranus, it's not going to be just that wrong place, wrong time thing's going to happen. It's going to be intentionally malicious. It will be premeditated, chaotic events that will happen. And I'm not saying that it's going to be that premeditated. Don't give anybody that much credit, because, Mercury and Pisces, But anybody who might have been having some sort of pent-up hostility or animosity because of the delusion that's being perpetuated by Neptune square Saturn, by the establishment, if they are a little bit mentally unstable, or if this Pisces stellium in particular makes them mentally unstable, because that could be a potential for some people. The more mutable manifestations we have in a dynamic, the more mentally unstable somebody becomes. So the fact that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, technically, if you count the IC and Gemini, 14 different points at this moment at this eclipse, which is residual energy that will be perpetuated for the next 6 months or more. There's going to be a lot of mental instability. Again, that emphasized yet again with Mercury and Pisces. So, the themes that you're going to have to worry about with this eclipse are going to be irrational behavior. I'm not trying to scare people, but there's going to be an intense, high probability of being targeted. I'm not saying anybody, like any demographic in particular, but being a potential target in public. There's going to be attacks or mass casualty style catastrophic events going on. And again, because Mars is conjunct with Uranus, it would be Mars-related injuries. So it would be sudden, it would be life-threatening, it would be people losing limbs, bleeding out, being run down, soldier wounds, transportation, or any kind of commuting in general. It would also have associations with head trauma. This could trigger in a psychological sense as well as a physiological sense. So this Mars-Uranus conjunction can actually be the motivational factor, like the psychopathic signature more or less, with Eris, Uranus, and Mars, for somebody to snap and then go and project that Uranus, Mars, Eris energy onto a group of people. Which, a group of people meaning, again, that reference with Mercury and Pisces being in the quadrant of Venus. So, another thing I want to point out, since this is the first time looking at the eclipse from a Pisces solar, we have Lilith on the MC. There's some concerning issues with that. Black Moon Lilith is supposed to represent the shadow side, the side that's always hidden from the collective view. When Black Moon Lilith is on the MC. That would constitute that the cognitive dissonance or the personality conflict is so over-exaggerated and severe at this point, meaning that people are experiencing neurosis or psychotic episodes, that the entire manifestation or the entire entity that is Black Moon Lilith is now apparent to the collective's perspective. And that would mean that people are going to... I don't want to say this... I'm saying this as a metaphor, but not as something for somebody to use later. But when someone says that they were possessed by the devil for doing something, this would be the astrological equivalent of that. Failing to put your own dark potential, influences in check, and burying them and suppressing them, and then developing that personality conflict that causes neurosis in the brain to where you think illogically. And seeing as we have obviously a square between Lilith and Sagittarius to Mercury and Pisces at this moment in this eclipse, that's going to be even more apparent that she's going to warp the perspective and point of view of everyone. And again, I went over this in my Lilith and Sagittarius video on how that's going to play out per se. I think actually all my transit videos, Lilith, the weekly transit, Mercury and Pisces, and the eclipse all kind of grazed over the surface about how this is going to be a catastrophic time, which that shouldn't be any surprise to anyone, seeing as if you can think for a moment how the last 2 years have been going for you. Same kind of theme. We're taking it up a level here. It's going to be escalated. So I hate that I was meandering so much with the eclipse chart in particular, but I'm going to go over the transit aspects for February 26th, 2017 through the 4th of March, which is Saturday. So, solar eclipse or an eclipse of any kind acts like a new moon or a full moon on steroids. So when the moon is going through, ending its cycle, essentially, it does a reset or a refresh button on aspects with all planets. It's supposed to be psychically and spiritually a clean slate. This is a time of spiritual renewal. You now have the ability to view your life in new light. It is the getting of wisdom. You have reached a significant turning point in your life journey. Cast off childish notions and proceed with honor. That would be the manifestation of Sagittarius ruling over Saturn right now. So any kind of hard or stressful aspects with Saturn is going to be the direct catalyst or challenge of you casting off childish notions and acting like an adult. By the way, entering a new cycle of life, notice the signs of new growth. There is joy in starting over. It is survival of the fittest right now. This is a Mars-Uranus conjunction. Whether on the sports field or in the workday life, be productive rather than destructive. And people are going to go more of the destructive route because of the Mercury and Pisces debilitation. At last, you see the light. You are able to break through obstacles in innovative ways. You are a dynamic leader. That is the positive manifestation of Uranus conjunct Mars. On an individual level, it could cause inspiration or epiphanies, that sort of thing. Bliss, you seem to delight in everything and everyone right now. Take pleasure and harmony while it lasts. That's the fantasy ideations of the Neptune stellium. Effective communications, talks, calls, etc. You need to make connections and transport and exchange ideas or agreements. Right now you are in control and feeling good. This is a good time to impress those of authority. So that's associated with the sun. If you're not in control, you do feel good, and the reason why you do feel good is because you're on a Neptunian kind of inebriated state. So again, as I had said in a previous video, drunk drivers, motor vehicle accidents, and things where people will be intoxicated under the influence of things and or seeming as if they were, are going to be the direct cause of people's reckless behavior, unless it's mental illness. So, on Monday the 27th, the moon will go into Aries. Your fighting spirit is strong. Avoid conflict. Direct this energy into positive enterprises for positive results. Again, with the personality conflict and the cognitive dissonance and the lack of logical, rational thinking, people are going to likely go for the not avoiding conflict and causing conflict, especially with there being so much adrenaline pumped into Mars conjunct Uranus with Eris. It is time to break free of the past and experience the freedom of new habits and patterns of behavior. Not the psychotic behavior, though. Mental intensity, troubled mind, passive-aggressive argument, persuasive speech, craftiness, strategy, paranoia. Okay. I use this as reference just to go through the aspects. When this generator mentions something negative like paranoia or troubled mind or mental intensity, that means it's really bad, because this is the optimist perspective with this narration, which is why I try to add this into my videos as well as my own, so you get the whole picture is more or less than my warped, sometimes Plutonic, pessimistic perspective, which sometimes I get dragged into that. It is time to break free of past experiences. That is the force that is being pushed on everyone from the eclipse. So an eclipse is supposed to act like it's a manifestation of Pluto. It's going to force change, whether you like it or not. Most of the time, it's not, because the eclipse is supposed to be the catalyst to release the pressure that would manifest later as the Black Moon Lilith negative persona. So, if people are bottling or harboring a lot of toxic energy within them, ideation, whatever, feelings, an eclipse won't be good for them. It'll be very traumatic. They may not remember, because it may manifest as similar to like bipolar behavior. So they may go completely manic and not even realize their behavior. Most people usually don't anyway. And with us being in Pisces season with the Pisces stellium, the lack of self-perspective is even more exaggerated. Mental intensity, troubled mind, passive-aggressive, paranoia. So that was emphasized again. Expressing ideas, communication, calls, talking with others, conversations, mental meetings, and social adaptability. Oh yeah, social adaptability, no. Then we move on to Mars Day, Tuesday, and the moon will still be in Aries. So, feeling the urge to take over, make the most of your leadership urges, but avoid conflict with compromise. And then we have a trine with Mercury to the MC, expression of individual outlook, opinion, communication for personal reasons. Clear expression of purpose and objective. So keeping in mind that Black Moon Lilith is on the MC as well, the residual energy that will perpetuate forward. So the expression or individual outlook or opinion is going to directly tie into Black Moon Lilith severing a divide between the collective society, demographics, and communities and such. So everybody's going to be thinking that they're just expressing their individual harmless opinions, but it's actually going to fuel the fire and make things worse. And people will be irrationally temperamental, explosive. Bipolar is definitely an appropriate translation. And then on Wednesday, Mercury Day, we'll be transitioning from the moon being in Aries to Taurus. Then we'll have mental tensions, fixations on one point of view, rigidity of mind, radical views challenged, interrupted communications. Mentally pushing the limits, over-assimilation, interest in learning or travel, overconfident judgments or opinions. So people are going to get manic on Wednesday. It being Mercury Day, that's not a surprise. Mercury Day would constitute that Mercury is the more prominent, influential point in a chart. Follow your intuition, your imagination, and creativity are limitless. Record your dreams and ideas and immerse yourself in the sea. That's pretty much all you can do at this point, so I guess go with it. Even if I tried to tell you not to do that, you're still going to do that, because you can't even fathom how detached from reality most people are right now. The only reason why I'm not is because I'm usually the opposite of everything, because I'm supposed to be the devil's advocate. So, I seem to be more clear-headed now when Pisces is the ruler of Mercury than when it's not. Mentally pushing your limits over assimilation, so that's re-emphasizing that theme again. Enjoy conversation with friends and family. Ideas flow smoothly. Commit them to memory or write them down, because you won't remember shit, because your cognitive capacity is impaired with Mercury and Pisces. Impulsive reactions, fast-paced, trouble, problems, or irritations, mechanical breakdowns, arguments, or conflicts. So, remember how I said Mercury in Pisces is the equivalent manifestation of Mercury retrograde. So, That being said, Wednesday being the day that Mercury is more prominent, there's going to be Mercury retrograde mundane themes going on. People having breakdowns if you're having car issues, whatever. Gadget problems if your computer's acting up, don't throw it against the wall like your Aries Mars wants you to do right now. Give it a minute. And mental tension, fixation on one point of view, rigidity of mind, radical views challenged. So that's overemphasized again. Follow your intuition, your imagination, and creativity are limitless. Again, that's overemphasized. And then on Thursday, Thor's Day, we still have Taurus as the ruler of the moon. And then we have life is like a roller coaster ride, full of surprising twists and turns. Ride out the tensions, exercise wisdom and restraint, and you can enjoy your newfound freedom. Good news comes your way. You are positive and your ideas flow. Let your confidence speak for itself. Then on Friday, Venus Day, we'll still have the moon in Taurus. Impulsive reactions, fast-paced, trouble, problems, and irritations, mechanical breakdowns, arguments, and conflicts. And that's specifically because there's a semi-square between Mercury and Mars. And then on Saturday, we have the moon going in from Taurus to Gemini. And that's Saturn's day. So Saturn and Sagittarius being the authority that decided that we're in the mutable years. Saturday is usually inconsistent or, can go either which way. It's the manifestation of Saturn with Sagittarius. So, we have you're feeling frustrated in your objective, impatient, may be part of this period. Before you need to ensure that you pay closer attention to your aims, patience and collaboration are needed rather than competition. Save any competitive urges for a demanding sport or solo adventure rather than projects that require cooperation with other people. Avoid rash decisions and stressors that trigger your temper, and this can be a rewarding phase during which your motivation is strong and your achievement is satisfying. The fact that we're going into Gemini for the moon, that is another signature for mental erratic bipolar and or split personality, the kind of emotional volatility. It also squaring with Mercury in Pisces will make it even more so. The use of imagination, accurate intuitive thinking, appreciate subtleties, artistic appreciation of vision, because that's all you got going for you during this stellium. The desire to escape is strong, perhaps inspired by a wonderful project or person, or maybe you are tired. Don't push, take some quiet time, have faith that all will be well. Discipline and endurance are required now, which won't happen. Hello, Pisces season. Resist the urge to control, because you won't be able to. Accomplish what you can. Any delays are likely to be fortuitous. The use of imagination, accurate intuitive thinking, appreciating subtleties. Re-emphasizing that. Okay, so that is the wrap-up for the weekly horoscope from the 26th of February to the 4th of March. And everybody stay safe. Be aware of potential hazardous situations in public. Go take care of any mechanical issues with your car. Don't throw your computer against the wall if it starts to slow down. Count to 10. Do some breathing exercises. It's a great time to try to set your mind, which is the mutable or the mutatable facet of your conscious being, to practice breathing and relaxing exercises. It'll be intense because of a lot of the fire energy with your temperament and your feelings, but it's crucial for you to get it under control. Mars conjunct Uranus as well, on a physiological level or a pathology level, can manifest as a cardiac arrest, panic attack, or heart attack kind of scenario. So if you work yourself up too much, and you tend to be one of those pent-up sort of people, you could potentially suffer from a heart attack. Interesting enough, too, that, what is his name? Pat? Gosh, I feel horrible. I know. It's not that he's not important, and it's not that people, when they die, are not important. It's just there's so many deaths. And I track them all, so I can understand death signatures and stuff. But it's hard for me to keep up. There's so many people dying. I can't even keep up anymore. And, of course, I'm saying something that nobody wants to hear, because the embodiment of the Pisces archetype would be evident of people not wanting to hear harsh reality. But, you know. Bill Paxton died at age 61. So I actually looked at his chart. He has a moon in Pisces and a Pisces ascendant. So the eclipse went over the ascendant in particular. He has, for the Leo, the sun house, he has Pluto in that house. So essentially, Pluto being the associated with death, when the sun, which would be represented by the 5th house or Leo, is blocked out from view because of the moon. And Pisces actually has to do with, you know, undoing and assimilating with the divine and death. And the moon basically took over influence and caused him to go into, I would assume, I haven't seen any accounts yet, he had some sort of issues with surgery, but I would assume that it was cardiac arrest or heart failure by what the transits say. So we'll find out shortly soon. But yeah, not entirely. Oh yeah, I was trying to emphasize on the whole heart attack thing, even though that's not necessarily related. But I correlated that because of the potential cause of death. Anyway, I'm leaving now. Goodbye, guys.
Is there someone there who cares for God-forsaken souls and God-forsaken man? Is there someone there who cares?